The date that this video is posted proves that these predictions are being made ahead of time, as do these time-stamped emails and forensic notes PDF documents. If you are skeptical for some reason, please email me and I will forward these to you. If you have already watched this introductory information in another video, you can skip ahead no more than 14 minutes. All right, this video was originally produced prior to January 1st and 2nd, and God was pointing to this date in regards to the predicted death of Kamala Harris in a plane crash. This January 1st to 2nd, 2025 date, which is Hanukkah Day 8 in the Hebrew calendar. Now, the way God's true big picture of signs, patterns, and connections works, which is only being explained on this channel, is that it is an interconnected web, and the full intended meaning of any of God's prophetic signs cannot be fully or properly understood without their context and connections to the other prophetic signs. It's the exact same way with the Bible. The Bible isn't a linear document, and all of it is connected to itself. You can take an infinite number of pathways through the Bible because it is all interconnected. That's the way it is with God's prophetic signs. And so to do this, like a spider web, we need these nodes in which the strings connect to each other, if you will. These are these steps in the trail of signs. So in other words, God is establishing a trail of signs. And one of these steps, nodes in the web, is January 1st and 2nd. In regards to the predicted death of Kamala Harris in a plane crash, it is a step. And we expected either for Kamala Harris to die on this date or there be it was recognized before January 1st that it would only be a step, but not before the production of this video. But that's fine, because the reason why God is making these predictions in the first place, and this is key, please pay attention. This is the important thing to understand here. The reason for the prediction is not for us to say, oh, cool, God predicted this ahead of time. The purpose of this prediction is for God to tell his stories that he is telling through his big picture of signs, patterns, and connections. And this requires, like I just explained, these trails of signs and interconnected signs that point to a particular date ahead of time, for example. And it is through God's stories that he is telling through these trails of signs that he's able to communicate extremely important information and knowledge, which is only being explained on this channel. Okay, and so this video, after I'm done this introduction here, will be about how God pointed to January 1st and 2nd ahead of time. That needs to be learned so that you can learn the stories that God was telling, and they are amazing. They are not only amazing, the information is important and extremely essential. So the wise person will recognize when the prediction comes to pass that Kamala Harris will die in a plane crash on January 8th, that they need to watch every minute of every video on this channel, including all of the Kamala Harris crash prediction videos, including the information for how God pointed to January 1st and 2nd ahead of time. By the way, it's January 1st and 2nd because it's Hanukkah Day 8, and in the Hebrew calendar, the dates begin at sunset and go to sunset. Okay. So regarding what happened on January 1st that confirmed all of the analysis, today as I'm speaking, it is the early AM January 2nd, so there may be more to this, because again, he was pointing to both dates. But regarding what happened on January 2nd, we have amazing signs that I'll briefly explain, but more details regarding these signs are explained in the New Year's Eve or New Year's attacks video. Okay, the thumbnail that says New Year's attacks. Okay. Now, Kamala Harris's plane crash is predicted to be caused due to lightning. There's profound symbolism in this. The reason why is that Jesus said he saw Satan falling like lightning from heaven. He said this in Luke 10:18. Okay, and the name Barack Obama means in Hebrew, lightning from heaven. Barak means lightning. Bama means high place, which in the Bible is a metaphor for heaven. And, for example, Lucifer is said to have fallen from the high place. And also in the Bible, the high place is a euphemism for the false religious worship that the Jews would conduct on the tops of mountains, which is Antichrist symbolism. And in the language Jesus would have spoken, Aramaic, the word for from is O. And so Barack Obama means lightning from heaven. Either Jesus didn't know what he was saying when he said this, or he knew there would be a famous president named Barack Obama and said this anyway, or he was revealing the identity of the Antichrist. Obviously, the latter option is the only one that makes any sense. This is why we received all of this lightning symbolism on January 1st. First of all, there were 4 profound prophetic, and even the mainstream media is talking about it. Those that don't know anything about God or let alone prophetic signs are talking about this. This coincidence of these 4 iconic locations in New York and Washington, D.C. having been hit by lightning on this New Year's Eve night. The mainstream media is, of course, mocking conservatives who are saying that it's a sign from God that's pointing to the new chapter of America when Trump takes power. But Trump isn't going to take power. The reason why Kamala Harris will fall in a plane crash caused by lightning, which will symbolize when Jesus said he saw Satan falling like lightning from heaven, is that due to her plane crash and her fall from the sky, the Antichrist will rise to become the president again, Barack Obama. Okay, so that's the purpose of the plane crash. This plane crash of Harris's has been known through God's prophetic signs since 2020. Okay, and there's been hundreds of signs regarding this theme since then. Now, in fact, the signs go back well before Harris was even a household name. But that's another story. So we have these 4 lightning strikes, which, by the way, is in itself interesting because we are talking about the 44th president. But there were 2 lightning strikes on the 2 iconic towers in New York City and 2 lightning strikes on the iconic locations in Washington, D.C., the Capitol building and the Washington Monument. These 2 lightning strikes on the 2 iconic towers in New York obviously hint at the 2 planes that struck the Twin Towers on 9/11. Likewise, the 2 strikes in Washington, D.C. hinted at the 2 planes that were destined for Washington on 9/11 to be crashed into sites, including the Capitol building, we think, on 9/11. Okay, and so also, speaking of New York, one of the signs was the New York City story of the day was the heavy rain during the ball drop for the New Year's countdown. Kamala Harris is predicted to drop out of the sky. And I assume there will be heavy rain because she's predicted to have her crash caused by lightning. But also, heavy rain is Noah's flood symbolism. In the account of the flood, God gave Noah a 7 days warning. And so from these warning signs on January 1st, it is 7 days to the date it is predicted that Kamala Harris will die in a plane crash. January 8th was known before, and independently, like I said, it was known before January 1st. And so this is confirmation, this Noah's flood symbolism sign. We are just scratching the surface here, though, of the lightning symbolism on January 1st. Because we also have these 2 New Year's Eve attacks which contain lightning symbolism. First, we have the explosion of the Tesla Cybertruck in front of the Trump International Hotel. Now, without getting into the details regarding Trump, because that's not what this video is about, but Trump is predicted to die on January 10th. But the Tesla Cybertruck is lightning symbolism, because God is using in his signs Tesla to symbolize lightning. Not only is it symbolism for electricity, which is symbolism for lightning, but Nikola Tesla is famous for his experiments with lightning. Then we had also, in conjunction with this terrorist attack in Las Vegas at the Trump Hotel, we have what is believed at this point probably to be coordinated with the attack in Las Vegas, this attack also using a vehicle in New Orleans. Now, the attack in New Orleans is highly interesting because it involves this Muslim terrorist that was serving in the U.S. Army for 10 years, and it was in the 18th state to join the Union. Now, 18 is 6 plus 6 plus 6, which is the number of the Antichrist, 666. Also, the Antichrist was born in 1961, and 61 is the 18th prime number. But this 10 years service for the U.S. Army and him doing this attack in the 18th state hinted at Luke 10:18, which is when Jesus said he saw Satan falling like lightning from heaven. Wow. Not only that, the initial reports in the first chaotic minutes after the attack, the media was speaking about, or the headlines were, at least 10 deaths. And so at least 10 deaths in the 18th state is also a hint at Luke 10:18, which of course again is lightning symbolism. What's also interesting too is that the attack occurred at 3:15 a.m. Let's call it 3 a.m. Because Paul Simon released with Art Garfunkel his first album, and it was titled Wednesday Morning 3 a.m. That album was released the day before Kamala Harris was born. Okay, Kamala Harris's birth followed the release of Wednesday Morning 3 a.m., and Kamala Harris's death will follow this attack on Wednesday morning 3 a.m. Now, like I explained, the rest of this video will explain how God pointed to January 1st ahead of time. And like I explained, this information must be learned, and therefore this video must be watched. Now, before I begin this information, I'll also add that now that it has been explained how God's true big picture of signs, patterns, and connections works, there are 70 videos that explain the trails of signs that led to February 10th, 2024. The same is true for these videos. The information in the videos, the prediction that she would die in a plane crash on February 10th, and all of the information that God demonstrated that led to February 10th is 100% correct. And these videos explain, like I'm saying, these stories through which God is telling extremely important information and knowledge. In other words, you need to seek out the February 10th videos and watch these videos also. This also applies also to May 19th, 2024, and also December 24th, 2024. But I think there are only a few videos for those two dates. Make sure you watch the videos for them, but also February 10th. One thing to add to that is that the February 10th videos are the trails of signs that go back years. So I just couldn't continue to update these 70 videos for every step in the trail. I decided that something new needed to be done, and that was to, in future videos, direct you to the videos that point to February 10th. The trails that led to February 10th are the trails that go back years. And so you will find not only the information amazing, but also it's extremely important, the knowledge and information that God is communicating through the stories he is telling, like I explained. God was pointing to Hanukkah Day 8 as being a step in the trail of signs for the predicted death of Kamala Harris in a plane crash. Hanukkah Day 8 began at sunset on January 1st and went to sunset on January 2nd. This is how the Hebrew dates work. And so that's why the information in this video will be talking about January 2nd, but really what it is talking about is Hanukkah Day 8. And the prophetic signs we received were on January 1st, the beginning of Hanukkah Day 8. All right, welcome. This video is predicting that Kamala Harris will die in a plane crash in St. Louis next to the Gateway Arch into Busch Stadium on January 2nd, 2024. As we can see here, this email documents that this prediction has been made, or rather this email was composed anyway, on December 27th, 2024. And also the time-stamped email, as well as the forensic notes PDF document, prove that this prediction is being made ahead of time, as does the date, that the post date of this video, the date that you see as being when this video was posted. That said, God has been communicating through his true big picture of signs, patterns, and connections, which is only being explained on this channel, that Kamala Harris would die in a plane crash, since actually long before she was even chosen by Biden to be his running mate. That said, it was recognized that Kamala Harris would die in a plane crash, and that the purpose of it would be so that Barack Obama could become the president again. This was recognized in October of 2020. In retrospect, we can see the related theme in God's signs long before that, years before that. But anyway, it has been known since 2020 that she will die in a plane crash, even before the referendum that year. Okay? So, now, the way God's big picture of signs, patterns, and connections works, which is only being explained on this channel, is that it is an interconnected web. And none of the signs can be fully or properly understood without their connections and context with the other prophetic signs, something that is missed by most people that are interested in prophetic signs, which is why the vast majority of the prophetic signs, furthermore, have been completely missed and are only being talked about on this channel. Now, because of the reason why God does this is because he is able to tell stories through these connections. These connections give meaning to the signs that wouldn't be possible, and thereby God is telling these stories. And it is through these stories that God is communicating essential, extremely important information and knowledge that everyone needs to know. And so it would be one thing for God to tell or tap someone and say, tell the world that such and such is going to happen on such and such date. But what good would that really be? Besides proving that the God of the Bible is the true God, I suppose. But there's overwhelming amount of evidence for that already. The reason for these predictions and these specific things is, like I'm saying, in order for God to communicate this information through these stories that he is telling. Now, regarding this, there are hundreds of prophetic Kamala Harris plane crash signs and related signs that go back years. And they develop the signs develop trails. In other words, God will point to a date ahead of time, and there have been hundreds of them that God has that have been recognized in advance that God was pointing to ahead of time. And that date will either be the date of the actual event, the specific thing, the theme that God is communicating with the particular trail of signs, or it will be a step in the trail of signs leading further on to the eventual event. In this case, the death of Kamala Harris in a plane crash in St. Louis. And most of the time, it's not really possible to know ahead of time whether or not it will be only a step or the actual date of the event. But that's how it works. It's through the nodes, if you will, in the web that God is able to tie everything together. And so that's why he points to dates ahead of time. Now, there are 70 videos explaining trails of signs, different ones, different stories that everyone needs to learn about, that led to February 10th, 2024. I could not continue to update any further these 70 videos with the new step in the trail, because there were even more steps between February 10th and the now prediction for her crash being on January 2nd. And so these videos, these 70 videos that lead or explain the trail of signs, different trails of signs to February 10th, must be watched. If you do not watch them, you will have missed entirely the point of the prediction. The point of the prediction is to prove the information that God is communicating through the connections and the other prophetic signs. That's the point. Like I am saying, it would be one thing to tell or tap someone to tell the world that such and such will happen on such and such date, but that's not the point. And if you do not watch the 70 videos that God communicated information and stories regarding the death of Kamala Harris in a plane crash that predicted February 10th, you will have missed entirely the point of the prediction. And so really there is no point in you watching this channel anymore. You're wasting your time. Right? Well, I mean, to a degree, I mean, I realize people are busy, and that's a lot of videos. I understand. And furthermore, there's more than just the prediction for Kamala Harris. I don't know what to say, really. all I am is the messenger. And what I know is that God did this for a reason, and it's so that you learn about what God did. And so to learn about what God did, you need to watch the videos that predict February 10th. That's also true for May 19th. There's a few that I did not update after May 19th, and also December 24th. All right? So these are also videos that must be watched. Now, if you are watching on the platform that has the initials YT, right? You know what I'm talking about, that platform. Then that channel, this platform does not have all of the videos. You need to switch over. And I'll leave the information on where to go at the end of the video. But you need to switch over. I recommend also, though, sharing the YT platform video, because that's the one that gets the word out. But realize that not all of the videos are on the YT platform. H188 in Strong's Concordance, Hebrew concordance for the Bible, is the word for woe exclamation mark. It is used in the Bible in the context of extreme judgment from God. Harris was born 1 year, 8 months, and 8 days after construction began on the Gateway Arch. The word woe is used 8 times in the book of Revelation. Harris is predicted to crash into the 8 plus 8 plus 8th state on Hanukkah Day 8 days after Christmas, which this year was on a Wednesday. The date of Christmas hints at the date of her predicted crash on 1/2/25, which hints at 12/25, the date of Christmas. The TV series Wednesday, about the character from the Addams Family, has a total of 8 episodes, and each episode has the word woe in their titles. The title of the 8th episode is A Murder of Woes. The 8 episodes with woe in their titles aired on the date, because they all aired on the same day, 11/23, November 23rd, in 2022. 1123 is the 188th prime number, and H188 equals woe exclamation mark. The TV series takes place in a small town named Jericho. In the Bible, Joshua led the Israelites around the walls of security of Jericho before they collapsed in God's judgment. Joshua died at the age of 110. The 8 episodes of the Wednesday TV series, with woe in their titles, aired on the date that is symbolic of woe, exactly 110 weeks before Kamala Harris is predicted to die next to the Gateway Arch that began to be constructed 1 year, 8 months, and 8 days before Harris was born. All right, so some background here. The book of Joshua speaks of the Israelites marching around the walls of security of Jericho before they collapsed in God's judgment, which was a woe, if you will. Joshua died at the age of 110. This is why God uses this number as symbolism for this. That's why, for example, the Twin Towers were 110 stories before they collapsed in God's judgment, and furthermore cracked the foundation of Federal Hall on Wall Street. Okay? And Trump is a type for Joshua, and on 9/11, he called into, or rather trumpeted, if you will, to Channel 9 News, and inadvertently trumpeted that his tower on Wall Street had become the tallest tower in Lower Manhattan. Wall Street is named after the 9-foot-high wall of security that the Dutch built to keep the British and the Indians out. That's why it was Channel 9 News. Well, anyway, the Israelites blew trumpets before the walls of security collapsed in judgment after they were led by Joshua, who died at the age of 110. So you get the idea. Now, that's why this show takes place in Jericho. It's amazing. That's why we have this astounding 110 weeks connection. That's the connection you would expect from a sign involving the name Jericho. Like I'm saying, right? But also, 110 weeks is actually 110 days times 7. And Joshua, who died at 110, led the Israelites around the walls of security of Jericho 7 times. And then on the 7th day, they went around 7 times in the one day. Sorry, they went around 7 times once per day for 7 days. And then on the 7th day, they went around 7 times while blowing 7 trumpets. I should say trumpets, right? So, in other words, 110 weeks is especially prophetic. But it's from the town Jericho. And it starts, this 110 weeks connection starts from the date that hints at woe. This 1123 date, because it hints at the 188th prime number. But furthermore, we are talking about Kamala Harris, who was born 1 year, 8 months, and 8 days after the Gateway Arch began to be constructed, and it's predicted she will die next to the Gateway Arch, which is symbolic of a portal. So that's why this is all amazing. Now, the show Wednesday about the Addams family takes place in Jericho in the state of Vermont, the 14th state to join the Union. The Addams Family show is about the family's lives in their mansion. Harris's predicted crash will be exactly 14 weeks after the mansion of New York City Mayor Eric Adams was raided. So this mansion sign of Eric Adams was December 26th, 2024. That was the first heads up that God was pointing to the Addams family, which incorporates this show Wednesday, right? In fact, a step in the trail of signs was the Wednesday before Halloween that God pointed to, and also the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. Because Eric Adams was indicted, that's why his mansion was raided for alleged corruption with the country of Turkey, involving the embassy, which is a type of mansion, in New York City. And Turkey hinted at Turkey Day, and Wednesday of the Addams family hinted at Wednesday, and on, right? That's how the big picture of science works. Believe me, there's so much, saying that there's so much doesn't even come close to doing it justice. You really have no idea, and I have difficulty explaining how much there is. I can't even use words to describe how much there is. You think by me saying how much there is, you have an idea, but you really don't. It's like God, who is infinite. And so, anyway, that's why this is all amazing. Now, on the day, speaking of infinity, that's why on the day of the Eric Adams mansion sign, we received other mansion signs, which was the airing of Jimmy Kimmel and Prince Harry, as in King symbolism, in the Haunted Mansion in New York City. And also, the day before, Paul Simon sang in New York City, and he sings about his travel to Graceland to visit the Graceland Mansion. The day after, on the 26th, on the day of these other mansion signs, was the news, was the exclusive interview published by People magazine of the daughter of Lisa Marie Presley, who the interview was of the granddaughter of Lisa Marie Presley, who had just finished, the granddaughter of Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll, hence the King Prince Harry symbolism. But she is currently the owner of the Graceland Mansion. And on this day, People magazine published an exclusive interview with her regarding her completion of her mother's memoir, which is about the Graceland Mansion. All right, and also this daughter, her name is Kenough. I don't know how to pronounce her name, but it's a Kenough, if I recall, Kenough Presley. She also is known for her acting roles in these horror movies that have mansion symbolism. So, including one that's taken from the classic horror movie about a mansion of all time. I forget the name of that now. It was an Alfred Hitchcock movie, though. But anyway, the point is that I'm going off track. That's the point. There's really no need for me to have gone into all of that, because just saying that Eric Adams is related to the Adams family is enough, right? But also the name of the mansion of the mayor of New York City is Gracie Mansion. Like the mayors, like the White House, they live in this mansion while they're mayor. The name of that particular mansion is Gracie Mansion, which obviously hinted at and related to the Graceland Mansion. And by the way, this is how God's true big picture of signs, patterns, and connections works, which is only being explained on this channel. It works on the principle of these second and third and multiple witnesses confirming a matter, as the Bible says is required. And this is what makes what is being explained on this channel true and not a product of one's imagination, and different and unique than everything else on the internet that claims to be an analysis of God's prophetic signs. But speaking of which, also the ultimate point to all of this mansion symbolism is the White House mansion in which will dwell the Antichrist king, hence the king of rock and roll, who had his mansion in the area of the country nicknamed Little Egypt in Memphis, Tennessee, named after Memphis, Egypt, because the king of Egypt in the Bible is symbolic of the Antichrist. Okay. Furthermore, the mark of the Antichrist will be triggered by frequencies, and music is frequencies, which is why at the gate, because judgment in the Bible symbolically begins at the gate of the Graceland Mansion estate has these musical notes on the gate, and of course Elvis is known for his music, which is frequencies. And again, the mark of the Antichrist king will be triggered by frequencies. It'll trigger mass demonic possession of those who have taken the mark of the Antichrist, which is why the macabre symbolism with the Addams family, for example, here, and the granddaughter being associated with horror movies. Okay, now, believe me, I know far better than you how the prediction made in this video was derived. And more importantly, I know far better than you why the righteous Christian God of the Bible has given me a voice through this prediction. If you are a quote-unquote Christian or Muslim, this prediction was not learned through a demon. Be warned that blaspheming the Holy Spirit is the unforgivable sin. If you are a New Ager or New Spirituality person, this prediction was not learned through somehow tapping into the supposed universal collective consciousness. If you are a conspiracy theorist, this prediction was not learned through figuring out a supposed code that the Illuminati and Satanists are using. This prediction was learned through the Bible and through watching carefully the Lord's prophetic signs, which Jesus commanded all Christians to do. Besides proving that Jesus Christ is the Lord, the reason why God has given me a voice through this prediction is to prove that the controversial things that I am saying in the videos on this channel are the truth. Therefore, a wise person will want to watch all of the videos on this channel. What I will also do is create a video or two that summarizes some of the controversial things that the Lord will prove to be true when the prediction being made in this video comes to pass. I will leave links to these must-watch videos in the description box below this video. Again, the purpose of this prediction, that is from God, is to prove these things that I will talk about. And therefore, it would be foolish to not watch the videos that I will leave links for in the description box below this video. Aliens and UFOs are demons masquerading as aliens and UFOs. Most people's spiritual experiences are demonic deception, especially if they are not a true follower of Christ. In the last days, many people who claim to be a follower of Christ will have spiritual experiences that are in reality demonic. God became a man and died a horrible death at the hand of the ruler of this world, Satan, and then defeated death for you, so that you too can overcome death, which is the price that must be paid for sin. It is time to repent, which means to change one's ways and turn to God and become a disciple of Jesus. Please leave a like and upvote the video, and once this prediction has come to pass, share this video with everyone you know, and more, don't stop sharing it everywhere in social media. And don't only put the link to this video or another video on this channel in comments sections of places you typically visit, but importantly, put the link to the video in places you never visit, where people who don't think like you visit. If you are a quote-unquote Christian, nothing in terms of an evangelism tool compares to this video with its prediction. It is a massive bag of gold. Beware of Jesus' warning through the quote-unquote Christian that did nothing with his bag of gold and was banished to hell. Also, read Ezekiel chapter 3 and 33 for this same warning. If you think you might be spending too much time watching videos instead of working and sacrificing for the kingdom through handing out flyers and potentially helping hundreds of people in the same length of time as a video, my flyer is filled with amazing information that people need to know right now, and it points people to the video channel. Now is not the time to be handing out typical evangelical tracts that are largely based in error anyway, such as, quote, Jesus loves you, unquote, for example. You can hand out the flyer on busy street corners, put them on car windshields in busy parking lots, and put them in mailboxes. Just send the file to your local print shop. It is essential that everyone immediately read the homepage of my website, TrumpPrediction.com. If you are watching this on the YouTube platform, please note that not all of the videos are on YouTube. You need to switch to the Odyssey.com or Rumble.com channel, and do it now in case you aren't able to later.